Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Welcome to the KZGN News.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
In news from China Lake, on March 6, 2015, Naval Air Warfare Center Commander Admiral Mike Moran provided honors for the Air Test and Evaluation Squadron, VX-31 Search and Rescue Department. Admiral Moran presented AW-3 Christopher Mefford with a Sikorsky Award for his humanitarian and disaster relief efforts during Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013 while flying a Sikorsky helicopter. In 7 days, he flew more than 42 hours delivering food, supplies, and first aid. On November 15th, he lifted 103 stranded people off a small island. In another award, on August 5, 2014, a 5-man SAR crew from VX-31 rescued a 60-year-old civilian hiker who was severely injured and bleeding profusely at the 10,000-foot level in the Sierra Nevada mountains near Mammoth Lakes, California. This rescue was cited as the highest dark mountain rescue that VX-31 ever performed. In recognition of these acts, Admiral Moran presented commendation medals to Lieutenant Michael Yost, HM1 Jared Criss, Lieutenant James Hong, AWS-2 Scott McCandless Jr., and AWS-1 Charles Jenkins, who didn't attend the ceremony as he is now since retired. I can just imagine a rescue at 10,000 feet in the dark. High-altitude rescues have large risks. All of us at KZGN salute these fine sailors. Well done. At last Wednesday's Ridgecrest Planning Commission meeting, the commissioners took up the following items. The main agenda item had to do with approving the 2015 to 2023 housing element. The city retained consultant Amy Schisheimer to help get the plan done. She briefed the Planning Commission on the results of her study and the work. It is interesting to note that in the course of the study, she tabulated that Ridgecrest has 6 homeless people. But the main purpose of the study was to determine if the city had an appropriate availability of open land to be developed that would satisfy the needs of low-income purchasers up to the high-income purchasers as well. State law requires all jurisdictions to have this availability. The study showed that there is enough land to build 5,000 units, and state law only requires the availability of 1,000 units. She said that there were 102 units constructed or approved in 2013. She provided her assessment that she felt there was sufficient availability for extremely low and low-income housing. However, some people felt there was not enough facilities for the homeless. The study acknowledges that the city has enough residentially zoned property to allow the required development. The commissioners approved the study and sent it forward to the council for a full council hearing and approval. After the council approves it, it will go to the state for approval, and it does have to be approved by the state before we go on. Finally, they took up the issue of allowing emergency shelters in residential neighborhoods and changing the wording in accordance with state laws in regards to density allowances. These zoning amendments were considered and approved by the Planning Commission last December in 2014. However, the city's attorney's office determined that the ordinance amendments made by the Planning Commission at that time were flawed due to the substantive revision of the percentages, as well as the additional changes required by law. It is the opinion of the city's attorney's office that a revised document should be finalized and brought before the Planning Commission before being presented to the City Council. The Planning Commission voted to recommend to the City Council to approve the zoning amendment. In Water District news, they are reporting that they will once again be looking at possibly modifying their local ordinances concerning outdoor watering of landscaping. This is in response to the water well overdrafts we are experiencing in the valley. What they are considering is restricting watering to every other day. The district manager has said that it would allow those with even street addresses to water one day and then the odd number addresses the next day. This would work out that homes would water 3 days one week and 4 days the next week. I'm not sure how programming automatic water controllers would handle that, but oh well. The change comes as new state drought conservation rules are being sent down to local districts. The new law even addresses businesses like restaurants only serving water to customers that request it, not to provide water unless it's requested. These efforts would be in addition to the already in place requirement that outdoor watering can only be done between the hours of 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Sergeant Myers of the Ridgecrest Police Department Traffic Division has made the following press release. On April 3, 2015, the Ridgecrest Police Department will operate a DUI driver's license checkpoint and DUI saturation patrol. This DUI checkpoint will take place somewhere within the city of Ridgecrest. The DUI saturation patrol are scheduled for the 3rd of April between the hours of 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. in the city of Ridgecrest. The actual location of the checkpoint will not be disclosed, and the location of the checkpoint may even move during the evening if determined necessary by Sergeant Myers. These checkpoints offer very little time, and once the driver provides driver's license and registration, as long as they haven't been drinking, they are set on their way. Average stop time is less than 1 minute. The Ridgecrest Police Department considers the use of DUI DL checkpoints and DUI saturation patrols effective in detecting and removing impaired drivers from the road. The checkpoint and saturation patrol are funded by a grant from the Office of Traffic Safety through the National Highway Safety Administration. If you're going to drink, do not drive. And equally important, don't get into a vehicle with a driver who's been drinking. Plan ahead and designate a non-drinking driver. Report drunk drivers to 911. The checkpoint was approved by Police Chief Ron Strand. In news from Sacramento, Assemblywoman Shannon Grove supports legislation to repeal the hidden gas tax. Assemblywoman Shannon Grove, the Republican out of Bakersfield, joined with Republican lawmakers and business leaders earlier this week to affirm her support for Assembly Bill 23, which would repeal the hidden gas tax that is saddling California drivers with higher costs at the pump. She said the following: "The state legislature and the governor claim to care for the poor, yet this tax increase hits those who can least afford it," said Assemblywoman Shannon Grove. "Californians already pay some of the highest taxes in the entire nation. My constituents are still struggling to recover from the recent recession, and the current water shortage is only making matters worse. The last thing they need is yet another tax from Sacramento to try and enact their environmental agenda." Passed in 2006, AB 32 enacted strict requirements on carbon emissions. As of January 1, 2015, these requirements apply to diesel and petroleum fuels, resulting in a massive tax hike for drivers in California. She says not only is this tax incredibly onerous for Californians, it is totally illegal, said Assemblywoman Grove. The California Air Resources Board has just instituted this tax on its own accord. It is estimated to rake in billions of dollars, which Democrats in the legislature have already earmarked for pet projects like the high-speed rail. "This is unacceptable, and I'm fighting to repeal it." Those are the words from Shannon Grove. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this commercial break. In news from Fresno, some of our local members of the Ridgecrest Republican Women's Club attended the California Federation of Republican Women's Central Division Spring Conference. The meeting was last Friday and Saturday at the Piccadilly Inn Airport in Fresno. The theme of the conference was rightly themed Women on the Front Line. From inside an airplane hangar Friday night, participants paid tribute to prisoners of war and those missing in action, and honored local women who served the country in World War II, where a 91-year-old Helen Condit took time to share her album of those days. She also shared a Kodak moment with Ridgecrest Republican Women's Federated President Junie Weaver. Organizers encouraged all to consider being involved with Honor Flight. They are a nonprofit that honors veterans nationwide by taking them to see their war memorial back in Washington, D.C., accompanied by a guardian. They said over 21,000 people have yet to make the trip, which is entirely free to veterans who have made the trip. Topping their Saturday agenda were Politichicks Anne-Marie Morrell, Morgan Brittany, and Dr. Gina Loudon, who represent strong, independent, and accomplished conservative women. Politichicks.com provides original news commentary and video in innovative ways, providing a venue for interviews of political leadership at all levels of government, along with other influential newsmakers and conservative entertainers. Morrell helped create the web TV talk show called Politichicks in 2011. The show featured powerhouse guests such as Bill Whittle, Alfonso Rachel, Frank Gaffney, Jenny Beth Martin, and more. In 2012, Morgan Brittany and Dr. Gina Loudon joined the cast, and today the women are moms, businesswomen, and even a doctor or two. But all of them are actively working to implement positive change in their towns and communities. You might want to check out the Politichic's timely and popular new book, What Women Really Want. So that's a brief recap of the Ridgecrest Republican women's trip to the conference. Thanks to Tanya for the report. In more Sacramento news, Board of Equalization Vice Chair George Runner called for meaningful public discourse on tax reform ideas to make life easier and keeping it simple for taxpayers. Runner is proposing California's income tax be replaced. He's replacing it with a title called KISS, Keep It Structured Simple. He went on with these comments. If you want real tax reform, we ought to look at eliminating the state's personal and corporate income tax, said Runner. One less tax agency would make California a far more attractive place for jobs, retirees, and investment. Runner noted if California eliminated the income tax, more companies would base themselves in California. Also, more residents would stay in the state upon retirement, leading to more revenue for the state of California. 7 states do not have income tax. Those states are Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. Runner said true tax reform makes tax systems more simple rather than more complicated. He called Senate Bill 8 by Herzog, which extends tax service to services, a massive increase. In its current form, the legislation would make California's tax system more complicated and add thousands of state auditor and tax collector to state payrolls. Any shift to a broader reliance on sales tax must be combined with real tax reform that removes barriers to doing business in our state, added Runner. Don't be seduced by false reform that makes California's tax code more complicated for everyone. Runner called for dynamic economic modeling of the likely benefits of eliminating the income tax and shifting to a consumption-based tax system, reminiscent of the fair tax model. It encourages businesses to weigh the pros and cons of such a structure. Now, in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's local gas prices for your information. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.98 to $3.39, plus one station still sitting at $3.69. Lancaster is coming in from $3.07 to $3.39. The LA Valley area is coming in from $3.03 to $3.25, and the Bishop area is from $3.26 to $3.39. We have one station coming in at the $2.98 figure, and now have 5 stations coming in at the $2.99 cost. We continue to have 6 stations here cheaper than Costco in Lancaster. We will be providing these prices 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Of course, we at KZGN always suggest you fill up here to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you are helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. In today's stock market news, we see the Dow is kind of flat today, but it is up at least. The Dow is sitting at 17686, up 8 points. The NASDAQ is up 20 points and sitting at 4883. The S&P is up 3 points and sitting at 2059. The markets are very mixed today, up and down. Stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. And now the weather with Keith.
Thank you, Tom. A quick look over the nation. Rain showers behind a cold front will make for a wet Friday for most of the mid-Atlantic and parts of the northeast and southeast. Strong thunderstorms with damaging winds are possible in the southern half of Florida. The front will usher in below normal temperatures for the eastern half of the country by Saturday. Snow showers are possible in parts of the Great Lakes and northeast on Friday as well. For us locally, tonight will be clear with a low around 52, west-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high near 91, southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday night will be mostly clear with a low around 51, breezy. Sunday will be sunny with a high near 87, west-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday night will be mostly clear with a low around 53, calm wind becoming west-northwest around 5 miles per hour. And on Monday will be sunny with a high near 89, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is your look for the weekend. Now back to Tom.
Thanks for that weather report, Keith. Now let's go to Tom Hecht with the sports.
And a very pleasant Friday afternoon to everybody. Let's start with a local sports note. Last night, under the lights, a beautiful night at Saracoso. Temperatures were in the low 70s, and gorgeous night for baseball. Barstow defeated the Coyotes 7-2. Darrell Allen, the southpaw from the Salt Lake City area, pitched very well. It was a very good, what I would call a pitcher's duel, and it was Kevin O'Toole from Barstow that ended up getting the win. He went the distance last night. Once again, the final score 7-2. Now, the two teams play tomorrow over in Barstow. That game will be at noon, carried locally on KWDJ 1360 AM and also SaracosoBaseball.club. All right, in the NCAA tournament last night, some very good games. Notre Dame has advanced to the Elite Eight. First time the Irish have done that since they had Kelly Tripucka back in 1979 under Digger Phelps. Tripucka was their star player. He is now doing some radio commentary for several networks. It was also Wisconsin over North Carolina, that game in L.A. Wisconsin won 75-72. Notre Dame will then hook up with the winner of that Wisconsin-Arizona game. That is going to be a war. Those two teams will play this weekend. Now, Arizona last night was pushed to the limit against Xavier. In fact, Xavier led by 4 points before Arizona caught fire and outscored the Xavier Musketeers 15-4 the last 4 minutes and a half of the game. So give Arizona credit. They shot great free throws last night. They were about 80% for the game. So when the Wildcats had to do something, they did it. They will take on Wisconsin. That game will be on Saturday. All right, also tonight UCLA will play Gonzaga. That game will be in Houston. UCLA is playing very good basketball. They defeated SMU in the first round last week by 1 point, Larry Brown's team. And then they came back 2 days later and beat Alabama Birmingham really decisively. So UCLA playing their best basketball this season. They were one of 4 teams from the Pac-12 to make the NCAA tournament. 2 of those teams still alive. All right, it'll also be North Carolina State and Louisville. That game in Syracuse tonight. That game really could go either way. It's hard to pick that one. North Carolina State playing really well. They beat Villanova last week. Villanova was the number 2 seed in the East. But right now that's a 50-50 toss-up. Utah and Duke, I'd love to see Utah win, but I don't see it. Duke really playing well right now. Michigan State and Oklahoma also will battle tonight. I'm going to look for Michigan State. Tom Izzo's got his team playing really well. Give him time to prepare. He's as good as anybody with the X's and O's. All right, with that said, I want to remind you of the big dinner coming up tomorrow night at Saracoso. It's a sports theme, the Hall of Fame dinner. We're going to honor some of the youth teams from the Valley. We're going to honor the 5th grade league basketball champions from last year. The IWV senior football team made up of mainly 8th graders. That team will be honored. They went 12-2, only lost to one team all season long, the same team twice. The Burroughs freshmen will be honored. They had a great season. They went undefeated in the Mojave River League this year. I look forward to meeting all those guys tomorrow night. And also we're going to honor the Murray 7th and 8th grade boys basketball teams who did very, very well the last 2 years. That team has won the tournaments, won the COSO tournament, along with honoring the JV baseball team from Burroughs High School and Coach John Bradley. Right now the varsity team this year at Burroughs, made up of those JVs from last year when they won the league. They went undefeated in the league. Right now a record of 7-1 this year in the early start of the season. Also, Emmanuel Christian will be honored tomorrow night. Will honor their high-low league championship. Hope you can make it. It's $20 for adults, $10 for kids dinner catered by Casey's. Some great door prizes. Also, some great gifts. Some nice items that we're going to auction off. TJ Frisbee gave us a beautiful bike. Jewelry to go, some nice jewelry to auction off. And we have some other nice items, including a Pete Rose autographed jersey donated by Justice Scott, this year's baseball coach and athletic director and future coach at Saracoso. All right, with all that said, I hope you have a very good weekend. Again, that starts tomorrow. The doors open about 6:15, and the dinner, again, as I mentioned, catered by Casey's, who has absolutely great food. For KZGN, I am Tom Heck. As I mentioned, have a good weekend.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only community TV station. We leave you tonight with the following funny dog video sent in to KZGN by Nicole. Thanks for sharing it with us, Nicole.